This week we are reviewing what can be some of the most expensive wines in the world. And in the tip of the week, we're going to talk about why this particular wine can be some of the best to order for a large group of people. All of that coming up next. Hello and welcome to Wine This Week with Scott Leek. If you've seen the movie Sideways, you already know a fair amount about Pinot Noir. But for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I don't think we can be friends anymore. What we learned in the movie is that Pinot tends to be a very thin-skinned grape, and that can make it difficult in certain conditions. It needs to be cool or moderate climates. If it's too hot or if it's too wet, even a good skilled winemaker might struggle to make decent Pinot in a vintage like that. For the oak content in Pinot Noir, in the aging process, the fermentation process, because of how delicate some of the flavors can be, oak can overpower it. So oftentimes, if it is going to be used, it's going to be used using an older barrel, or it's going to be used in a really large barrel so it doesn't impart too many oak flavors on the wine. It is going to have a lot of bright red fruits and high acidity. It's often considered a very silky, it's got good texture, it's juicy, it's flavorful, and that's part of the reason why some of these can be among the most expensive wines in the world. One other thing about Pinot Noir is that it is very rarely blended. Only place that I'm aware of where it's blended would be in the Champagne region in France, which surprisingly is the largest region of Pinot Noir in France. Burgundy, which is considered by many people the best region in the world for growing Pinot Noir, and in fact some of the most expensive wines in the world come from Burgundy, which is exclusively Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Among the other places you're going to find it in the Northern Hemisphere are going to be California, Oregon. You're going to find it in Germany, believe it or not. It's actually the most planted red varietal in Germany. You can find it in Switzerland, which who knew that there's one in Switzerland, but there is. In the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to find it in Chile, Australia, and New Zealand is actually making really good Pinot Noir these days. So that's another place to look for great values in Pinot Noir. But I want to go back to Oregon because that is where today's wine is from, and it's the region that is most similar to Burgundy in the US. Napa is a little difficult to grow Pinot Noir. It's a little too hot. Sonoma, with the coastal influence, does make better Pinot Noir, does make more Pinot Noir in some of those areas. But up at the 45th parallel in the Willamette Valley in Oregon, it's very similar to Burgundy, and they also have very different and various soil types, just like they have in Burgundy as well. So you're going to get lots and lots of different expressions in Pinot, which is why you can go and visit the Willamette Valley and basically all you're going to have is Pinot Noir, and you can go from place to place and have a very different style of Pinot wherever you go, or even within a particular winery, based on the different plots that they have and different slopes that they have, are going to produce very different Pinot Noirs. So I want to talk a little bit more about that, and to better explain it, we are going to go to a video I shot this summer, and I've been waiting patiently for this episode. But let's hear from an expert at Domaine Serene about what makes Oregon such a great place for Pinot Noir. All right, we are here at Domaine Serene, and I have a couple questions for Rennie here on Pinot Noir in general. So we're talking about Pinot this week. What is it about Oregon Pinot that sets it apart from California or Burgundy?
Well, Pinot Noir is such a unique grape, and it's kind of been the ugly cousin for so many years. You know, being on the West Coast, people think of Napa Valley and Sonoma County as world-class wines coming from this part of the world, really. And when they think of Pinots, they really think of France. And Oregon Pinot Noir really didn't make a name for itself until about 10 to 20 years ago. We're kind of very, very new to this game. But what makes us so unique is our climate and our soil here. We have jury soil, we have sedimentary soil, so all of this was underwater. So our mountaintops, Mount Hood, Jefferson, all used to be the tips of islands. So all of this was covered in water. So you have that maritime sedimentary soil, that fossilized crustaceans to our soil with beautiful drainage to it. We also have a volcano in our neighboring state up in Washington that is active and it does erupt. And so we have basalt layers, we have volcanic ash, we have all this volcanic soil that adds nutrients to our wines here, that brings out this bold, powerful characteristic. Also, it's rather cool here. It's very moderate growing seasons. cooler weather, but still, like on a day like today, beautiful sun-shining weather, allows these grapes to ripen very slowly. The slower they ripen, the better quality we're gonna have in these wines.
And are there any other reds that people are going to find in Oregon for the most part?
You can. Most of Oregon is for Pinot Noir. As you get more towards the northeast of the state, you're bordering on more of that high desert. So a third of the Walla Walla AVA is here in Oregon, and so you are getting Syrahs and Malbecs and Cabs coming from that region. But for where we are in the Willamette Valley, it's primarily going to be Pinot Noir.
And for someone who hasn't had much Pinot before or looking to get into it, can you get good value? Domaine Serene, like these are fantastic wines we're having today. Not, your everyday drinking wine for the average person. So
Absolutely.
Can you get good values out of Oregon Pinot?
Absolutely, you definitely can. We have Pinots all over the spectrum. I mean, sure, we'll have a Pinot Noir that's in the hundreds, but we also have our Yamhill Cuvee that's released at 52, which is really reasonable. But the beautiful thing about Willamette Valley and being especially here in the Dundee Hills of Oregon is you can throw a rock and hit a winery that makes incredible Pinot Noir. You just have to go around and take the time and taste through it and try these different wineries. So I love going wine tasting in the Willamette Valley. I love supporting my neighbors. I'm gonna give a little shout out to Domaine Divio. I was just there last weekend. They do amazing Pinot Noirs. Alex Zana out in kind of more eastern of us here. These beautiful Pinot Noirs as well. We have Domaine Druin down the road here. Beautiful, beautiful Pinots. So anywhere you go, you're gonna find some really good fruit.
So keep drinking.
Please keep drinking Pinot.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
As if Pinot Noir didn't have enough amazing things going on about it, it is also one of the varietals that is most commonly found in half bottles. So on a night like tonight where I'm not gonna have anyone to drink with me and I don't really feel like having a ton of wine, I'm having a half bottle of Pinot Noir. This week's wine is the Cristom 2016 Pinot Noir. This is the Mount Jefferson Cuvee. The half bottle comes in around $22, full bottle's about $40, and this is in 13.5% alcohol. You'll notice as well, I am using what is the quintessential Burgundy glass. Part of the reason for a different type of glass in this, and I talked about glassware in a previous episode, and I don't think it's a super huge deal, but if you want to geek out on it and have different types of glasses for the different types of wine, this is what's known as a Burgundy glass, and part of the reason for that is you see I've got the wine almost poured to the widest part here. It's very wide, and it's going to help a lot more of the aromatics come out because this is a little bit more delicate in some of its aromas. This type of bold, this more balloon shape compared to a Cabernet, or this known as a Bordeaux glass, helps a little bit. So first thing we notice on the color, Pinot Noir is, again, it's thin skinned, so it's not going to have as much pigmentation. It is a very light wine. The color on this is just this beautiful, I'm going to even call it kind of a pale ruby color. It's nice and light, but just stunning. It's almost got a little hint of orange to it in the edges, and that could be because this is a 2016. This is now getting near to be 6 years old. Pinots can age for a while, but half bottles will not age as well as full bottles or as magnums. So I'm curious if this is still going to be okay with a little bit of that orange tint in it. Let's smell it. Nope, it's just fine. Oh, that is delightful. These wines smell so good. I mean, the tastes are amazing on Pinot Noirs, but man, I could smell these all day. So bright, gorgeous red fruits coming through. I'm even getting a little bit of like red vines, not Twizzlers, but more the cherry flavored licorice, that cherry like nibs or red vines. But yeah, cherry flavors, maybe a little cranberry. There's definitely some strawberry in here too. Some spices coming through, like baking spices that are really nice. Hint of violet, which is pretty common on Pinot Noir to have some floral aspects, and violet's definitely coming through here. And despite being 6 years old, I'm not quite getting some of those tertiary aromas like mushroom just yet, but let's give it a taste. Yeah, I'm gonna take another sip. Wow, that's a nice wine. Pinots are fairly dry, not bone dry, but they're fairly dry. I'm gonna go off dry on this. Oh my God, this is gorgeous. This is so good. So there's great sweetness coming through with the fruit, but it's not a sweet wine, if I can make that clear distinction. It's got great acidity, and that is one of the quintessential things about Pinot Noir. Great acidity. It's not over the top. It's not razor sharp acidity, not compared to, like, let's say Sauvignon Blanc. Good medium plus acidity on this. Great. Tannins are very low on Pinot Noir for the most part, so I'm going to go medium low on this. This definitely does not have much tannin. There's a little bit on the tip of my tongue, but I'm not getting it too much in my cheeks or my gums. A little bit on the tip of my tongue. Nice fine tannins. The alcohol is great. Really no burn on there. I had a wine yesterday. I actually shot my Pinotage video yesterday because that went better with the dinner I had last night. This is going better with my dinner tonight. That was at 13%. This is at 13.5. I'm getting a little bit less heat on this. So very well balanced with the alcohol. The fruit and alcohol are in great balance. And the body tends to be fairly light on Pinot Noir as well. I'm going to go medium low on the body on this. And I'm still enjoying the finish on this. It's just fantastic finish. This is really good wine. So a lot of those things I detected. Oh, so juicy. Love this. Great texture. I love the feel of this wine. Great mouthfeel. Strawberries are definitely coming through. Slight tartness of like cranberry, but I do get more of that cherry, and cherry is one of the big components you'll notice most of the time with Pinot Noir. I'm not quite getting the red vine type of cherry, but it is a nice bright cherry. It's not a dark cherry. It's a nice bright cherry. Some of the spice is there. And again, I'm not really getting any tertiary notes. I thought with some of the orange around the edges that I'd pick up some tertiary notes. I'm really not. This is not tired at all. I wouldn't wait any longer to drink this, but it's pretty solid where it is right now. Balance is great. Everything is in really good balance. Great points for that. The length on the finish, like I said, very good as well. It's not over the top intense, and Pinots generally aren't. Some can be. Complexity on this is pretty good. There's a fair amount going on with all the different flavors, and I do appreciate that. There are some very subtle hints of the oak in there that I didn't mention, but those are there as well. So you got some good primary, got some good secondary flavors. Overall, this is a really nice wine. I'm scoring this 8 points. This is very good. I've come to have a new job that has me out in Oregon a fair amount, so I've really been enjoying Oregon Pinot Noirs for the last 5-10 years, and in some ways starting to favor them a little bit more over California, and maybe that's just some mental thing going on with how often I'm there now. And as you saw earlier, actually being at Domaine Serene certainly helps. But one of my first loves ever in the wine world was when I was in my early 20s, and it was a Burgundy, and it just blew my mind, and that was my first love. And still to this day, Pinot has a special place in my heart, and I got a fair amount of it here. So I encourage you to really experiment though. Have fun with Pinot Noir. If you like Pinot Noir, start to have it from different areas. If you haven't had it from Willamette Valley, go have it from there. Have some from Carneros and have some from Sonoma. Try a German one if you can find one. They actually make in Italy too. I didn't mention that. Find one in the northern region in Italy. And again, New Zealand is making great Pinot Noirs as well. And for those of you that love Champagne, and you like Pinot Noir, go out and look for a Blanc de Noir. A Blanc de Noir sparkling wine, whether it's from California or from Champagne, is made from 100% Pinot Noir. So some of the strawberry notes might come out in a Blanc de Noir from a sparkling wine. So there you have it. 8 points, spectacular Pinot Noir, great value. I encourage you, try a new one today. Another fairly short and simple tip of the week. Last episode we talked about Pinot Gris and how that can be a really great white wine to order for large groups. For making this as simple as I possibly can for you and easy to remember, white wines for a large group, Pinot Noir is one of the best ones to order. So remember your two Pinots when you're trying to order for large groups. Pinot Gris for whites, Pinot Noir for reds. And if you've got a big group and you want bottles of both, those are two great ones to order. The exception I'm going to say is if you're at a nice business dinner and you're at a steakhouse and everyone's going to be ordering steak, this doesn't have enough tannin to hold up to steak. But if you're at any other type of a restaurant and you're ordering for a large group of people and everyone's going to be having different dishes, this is incredibly food friendly and versatile for most dishes. It's got high acidity, it's got those great red fruits, it's got low tannins, and that makes this a really well-rounded, kind of utilitarian wine to have in any large setting. Thank you for watching another episode of Wine This Week. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a really fun one for me to shoot, although it took me about 6 months, but it was worth it. I hope you try some new Pinot Noirs from some different regions and expand your palate a little bit. So, as always, keep trying new wines. Cheers.